Welcome to JMW's Inside Man YouTube channel. David Smith is a partner at JMW and specialist data protection lawyer. David, in the press recently, we've been hearing about Boris Johnson and there were requests to hand over WhatsApp messages, which I think he subsequently complied with. I mean, business owners watching this may not have to be quite so high profile in handing over to an inquiry, but it's probably an important point, isn't it, to talk about whether personal mobile phones come under the scope of a data subject access request, which could impact, well, pretty much any business, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they can do. It kind of depends. If it's issued by the business, then for sure it does. If it's a bring your own device, then it probably does as well, because it's being used for a business purpose. If it's purely personal, and business stuff never touches it, then probably not. But even then, if I was messaging business contacts about things off my personal device, or my colleagues about stuff off a personal device, that would still potentially fall within subject access requests. The reality is, I mean, the proper position is that businesses need to have clear policies about this, and they should be saying that you shouldn't be using, you can't use your personal devices for business related stuff unless it's on as part of the bring your own device policy. And in that case, you need to be using the apps that we provide you specifically. So for example, don't use WhatsApp unless apparently you're Boris Johnson. Or you can only use Microsoft Teams, or you can only use this app or that app that we've provided, that we back up and that we control and that we can search. Otherwise, you get yourself into this really complicated position, which precisely the position, of course, that the Cabinet Office is in, is that they're trying to get Boris to give them his WhatsApps from a phone that he's actually turned off. They then have to read them. They want to try and redact them and then hand them over to the inquiry. And their position on that is, well, some of this stuff's personal and nothing to do with the inquiry. And the inquiry's position, of course, is that we're entitled to everything and we'll redact it if we think it's necessary. And then you've got this sort of side bit coming in saying, oh, they're trying to hide stuff because XY person was plotting against Boris, or whatever it might be. But yeah, it exposes a complex problem. I mean, and the reality is that if you use business devices for personal stuff, it is potentially disclosable, but employers are required to make clear to you that that stuff is potentially disclosable. Otherwise, they're potentially in breach of your personal privacy requirements as well. So it's a complex position, but the answer to it is to have a clear policy in place.
And you mentioned policies. I mean, I suppose the other thing I'm thinking about now as you're talking it through, David, is there's a potential of data breaches if information is then stored or used on a personal device that should be on business systems.
Yeah, I mean, people should bear in mind that WhatsApp is Facebook. It's headquartered in America. There are, as Facebook has found recently, and people have seen massive fines about the use of Facebook, there are massive problems with the way Facebook stores data. Now, the argument there would be that WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted and there's nothing actually stored on Facebook servers that is personal at all. But then they're being pressed to open access to WhatsApp by various law enforcement bodies, both here and in the US. And you can never be 100% sure they haven't in fact done so without telling anybody. So there are real issues as well in terms of the movement of that data through different jurisdictions that don't necessarily all have the same data protection standards as the UK and Europe, and are not in fact acceptable places to send your data.
And so this may be a wake-up call for some businesses. How can you and the data protection team help with the policies that you mentioned?
Well, we can certainly help people develop those policies. Most of our work is bespoke, to be honest, but we can certainly help people in terms of developing appropriate policies for their needs.
Thank you for your insight, David. And if you'd like to contact David and the data protection law team here at JMW Solicitors, you can email insideman@jmw.co.uk or call 0161 82 81 999. Please also subscribe to the JMW Inside Man YouTube channel for the latest legal news, hints and tips. I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man.